What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode of Coffee Kombat. This is your weekly talk show for all things competitive Mortal Kombat and NRS games. I'm your host, Mike Andronico, and we have a ton of exciting stuff to talk about today, including some results from Summit of Time and Texas Showdown, some exciting news about next week's Combo Breaker 2019 tournament, and an interesting bit of information about the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie. So let's dive right in. The biggest event of this past weekend by far was Summit of Time. If you guys aren't familiar with Beyond the Summit and the events they do, it was basically a 16-man invitational where folks like Sonic Fox and Dragon, Hayate and Scar all got in a house for a weekend and played Mortal Kombat. And it's a really cool mix of tournament and reality show, is what I like to call it. There was an actual tournament, of course. There were a lot of fun side events. There was a commentator battle. There was a random select tournament. There was they played some Mafia, which is the hilarious party game where everyone betrays each other. There's a rock paper scissors tournament. So a lot of fun events. Just incredible production. All these segments, all these skits. Definitely worth watching. Definitely catch up on the VODs if you haven't. But just to start with the results of the actual tournament, we're gonna just go through the top four real quick. So coming in at fourth place, DJT, Denzel Terry, a name that hasn't really popped up very recently in the NRS scene, but definitely an NRS legend, playing Sub-Zero, but also a lot of Baraka. Definitely going to talk about him more because he put on an amazing show. And in third place was DR Gross out of the Dominican Republic, playing that excellent Cassie Cage. Second place was Dragon with that extremely lame but very deadly Cetrion. And of course, first place, you could have predicted this, but Sonic Fox, playing mostly Jackie Briggs, but mixing in his usual suite of characters. I'm pretty sure he's playing Cassie and Aaron Black and a whole bunch of other people, but interesting top four. Obviously, Sonic winning is no surprise. Probably the best NRS player of all time. Dragon being in grand finals with him, something we've seen for years and years. Probably the second best player, I would say, of maybe the past 3 or 4 years, from late MKX to now. But I thought that the placement of Gross and DJT were both pleasant surprises. Gross has always been strong since MK9, but it's great to see him really come out of the gate swinging. And DJT, after being MIA for so long, just put on probably the best show of the weekend, and just with his gameplay. I mean, he played a really solid fundamental Baraka, just smart anti-airs, just smart reads, great punishes. And if you watch one match from Summit, watch him versus Tweedy. It came down to the last round, last game, last bit of health, and just so much great fundamental play on display. And DJT is also just one of the best personalities in the NRS scene. I mean, his pop-offs were hilarious. After every match, he was imitating Baraka's chop chop and just yelling. Such a funny guy. But there was a lot to get excited about at Summit beyond the actual tournament. Speaking of the side events, Mafia was super entertaining to watch, seeing all the NRS players come up with ways to kind of backstab and deceive each other. The rock paper scissors tournament was way more hype than any rock paper scissors tournament had any right to be. Speaking of DJT and Gross, they were actually in grand finals together. Those guys have just amazing reads. They just knew to constantly throw a rock out until they won. Definitely worth catching up on that. So there was one bit of sour news during what was otherwise a great weekend. That was Honeybee actually got disqualified before finals day. He tweeted out, I think it was Saturday night or Sunday morning, that basically he got into an altercation with another player, and as per Summit's code of conduct, he did get disqualified. But it seems like him and the other player are cool. He said he apologized, and that everything is cool with him and the person. I don't know who it is. I don't really care to speculate. But everything seems to be fine. I mean, he's still with Beast Coast. He seems to be grinding for Combo Breaker. So, glad Honeybee was able to bounce back from what was kind of a rough situation, but seems like he's on his way. So that was Summit of Time. Yeah, definitely catch up on the videos on demand if you have not seen the event live. I think their Twitch channel is BTSFGC, and they should have a YouTube channel as well. But there was another big tournament over the weekend, and that was Texas Showdown. So Texas Showdown is always a big event for all types of fighting games, and the NRS scene definitely came out in full force. So for your top three was, in third place, my personal MVP of the tournament, King Gambler, making it so far with Scarlet, who people don't really think is very strong or very high tier right now. And also played a little bit of Devora, which was amazing. We'll talk about in a second. Second place was Kuzco, playing his really strong Sonya. And first place was Deoxys, the back-to-back now Texas Showdown champ, really keeping his momentum going from Injustice 2. He was, I think, one of the stronger Injustice 2 players, of course, with his famous Blue Beetle, also playing some Cyborg, now playing Geras in MK11, and he has taken back-to-back Texas Showdown, so shoutouts to him. But again, I really have to give the credit to King Gambler. He put on such a great show this tournament. His Scarlet was fantastic to watch, but his losers finals match against Cusco was really the match of the tournament for me. I think after losing a game or two, switched to Devora, and I think ended up taking it all the way to game 5. And I don't think Cusco was ready for Devora, because Devora largely considered one of the worst characters in the game right now. Honeybee, who's probably the most famous Devora player out there, pretty much dropped her right away after the day 1 patch and doesn't think she's very strong right now. But King Gambler really proved that character loyalty goes a long way, especially if you're playing the characters you love and characters that people really haven't been practicing for. So shoutouts to everyone involved in Texas Showdown. Really fun event to watch. You can head over to Level Up Live to catch up on all the videos on demand and all that great stuff. So looking ahead, we have Combo Breaker 2019, which is shaping up to be probably the biggest Mortal Kombat tournament of all time. So Combo Breaker is always kind of a hotbed for the NRS scene. Of course, it takes place in Chicago, so that's where NetherRealm is, and that's where so many of the players are, and so many of the players come to from all over the world. So this week we got some entrant numbers as well as the schedule, and there are 758 entrants for Mortal Kombat 11 at Combo Breaker 19. So that's the most entered game this year. It might be the most entered of all time. I don't quite remember the stats, but it's going to be a huge tournament. That's not even factoring in on-site registration. So we might be looking at an 800-man bracket, which is pretty insane, especially for a brand new game. We also got the schedule for Combo Breaker, and no surprises here, but MK11 will be final game, final day. It's getting that primetime slot, Sunday, May 26th, 7:30 Central, so definitely tune in for the grand finals. It's going to be super hype. Obviously, going to be MK action going on all weekend long this weekend on NetherRealm's Twitch channel, so definitely head over there. Give them a follow so you're ready to check it all out, and I could not be more excited for Combo Breaker. I mean, every player you could possibly think of will be there. Of course, this is the first stop on the 2019 Pro competition, which is NetherRealm's official Pro Tour. So a lot of money on the line, a lot of points on the line. This event's really going to set the tone for just basically the next year of competitive MK. I also think it's a pretty safe bet that we'll get some kind of character DLC reveal. We already know that Shang Tsung's coming, so I feel like this would be a great time to give us an official Shang Tsung trailer, or maybe tease who's next. But either way, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you obviously have to be watching Combo Breaker. It's going to be an incredible event. So one last bit of news, just to kind of switch gears from the competitive stuff, the new Mortal Kombat movie, which has been gestating in some form or another for probably a decade, seems to actually be happening finally. According to Entertainment Weekly, the movie is going to be filmed later this year in South Australia. James Wan of Fast and Furious and Aquaman fame is actually going to be a producer, and directing is going to be Simon McQuoid, whose name I'm not familiar with. I think this is going to be his directorial debut. So that's pretty much all we know. We don't know what they're going for in terms of setting and story, if they're trying to kind of retell one of the games or do something different. So obviously, video game movie news, it's always to be taken with a grain of salt. These things don't always turn out well, and sometimes they just never get made. But I have a bit of faith considering that James Wan is attached. Even though he's just in a producer role, he's someone who knows how to make good action movies and hopefully has reverence for the source material. That's I think the most important thing. So we'll see, fingers crossed. I really hope it's more like the original Mortal Kombat movie and not so much like Annihilation, because we all remember that as much as we don't want to. So yeah, fingers crossed, hope it's a good movie, but we'll see what happens. So you guys, that's it for this week's Koffee Kombat. Hope you liked what you saw. Definitely leave some feedback in the comments, what you liked, what you didn't. Definitely looking to evolve and switch up the show over time, and I want to hear what you think. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys soon.